Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the stars through the large window. His uniform looked simple, like any merchant captain might wear. But Jack was not a merchant captain. He was the head of Earth's defense fleet. Though no alien knew this truth, the communication screen beeped. Jack pressed a button and saw Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez appear. She looked tired and worried. Behind her, he could see the fancy meeting room of the Galactic Council building. "Jack, we have problems," Lisa said quietly. "The Zelfarians are getting angry. They think we humans are taking too much space in the galaxy." Jack nodded slowly. He had been expecting this day for months. The Zelfarians were a war-loving alien race with sharp teeth and thick skin. They did not like how humans had built colonies on 12 different worlds in just 30 years. What did they say exactly? Jack asked. Lisa looked around to make sure no aliens were listening. "Their leader, War Chief Croth, says we must leave 3 of our newest colonies. He says if we do not leave, they will make us leave." Jack smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a hunter makes when he sees his prey walking into a trap. "How long do we have?" he asked. 2 weeks, Lisa replied. "Jack, they do not know what we really are. They think we are weak because we always talk instead of fight. They think our ships are just for trade and our colonies are just farms." Jack walked to another control panel and typed in a secret code. Numbers and pictures filled the screen. These showed the real strength of humanity. Every human colony had weapons hidden underground. Every human merchant ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. Every human who worked as a farmer or trader had been trained as a soldier. "Lisa, keep talking to them," Jack said. "Act scared. Act like we do not want to fight. Let them think we are weak little humans who only care about money and peace." Lisa nodded. She understood the plan. For 37 years, humans had been pretending to be peaceful. They joined the Galactic Council and smiled at all the alien races. They traded goods and shared technology. They never showed their real power, but the truth was different. Earth had been preparing for war since the day they met their first alien. Human scientists had studied every alien race, learning their weaknesses. Human engineers had built weapons that no alien had ever seen. Human soldiers had trained in secret, ready for the day when the pretending would end. Dr. Kate Sullivan walked onto the bridge carrying a thick folder. She was Earth's top expert on alien minds and behavior. She had spent years studying how different alien races thought and acted. "Admiral Morrison," she said, "I have finished my report on Zelfarian psychology. They are very proud and think strength only comes from showing violence. They see our peaceful behavior as proof that we cannot fight." "Perfect," Jack said. "What else?" Dr. Sullivan opened her folder. "They have been watching our colonies and ships for months. But they only see what we want them to see. They think our defense systems are simple shields and basic lasers. They have no idea about our real weapons." General Pete Campbell joined them on the bridge. He was in charge of all the secret military operations that aliens did not know about. He looked serious as always. "Jack, our spy networks report that the Zelfarians are gathering their fleets," Pete said. "They are bringing together ships from 5 different star systems. They really plan to attack our colonies." Jack looked at his 3 friends and trusted officers. These 4 people knew humanity's biggest secret. They knew that every human in space was ready for war. "How many Zelfarian ships?" Jack asked. "About 200 warships," Pete replied. "They think that is enough to scare us into running away." Dr. Sullivan laughed softly. "They do not know that our smallest colony has enough hidden weapons to destroy 500 ships." The communication screen beeped again. This time it showed Captain Roy Henderson from the merchant ship New Horizon. Roy was delivering supplies to the human colony on New Eden. "Admiral, I have arrived at New Eden," Roy reported. "The colonists here are ready." Their farms look normal from space, but underground, they have everything we need for defense. Jack nodded. New Eden was one of the 3 colonies that the Zeltharians wanted humans to abandon. It looked like a simple farming world with just 10,000 people growing food. But those 10,000 people were all trained soldiers, and their farms had military bunkers and weapon systems. "Roy, keep your ship looking like a normal trader," Jack ordered. "But be ready to show them what a human merchant ship can really do." Captain Henderson smiled. His ship New Horizon looked old and slow from the outside. But inside, it carried enough weapons to fight 20 enemy ships at once. Ambassador Rodriguez appeared on the screen again. This time she looked even more worried, but Jack knew she was acting. "Jack, War Chief Krath just made an announcement to the whole Galactic Council," she said. "He told everyone that humans are weak traitors who hide behind words. He said the Zeltharian Empire will teach us our place in the galaxy." "What did the other aliens say?" Jack asked. Most of them stayed quiet. A few said that fighting should be avoided, but none of them offered to help us. They all think the Zeltharians are stronger than humans. Jack looked out at the stars again. Soon, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity. Soon, everyone would understand that humans had not been weak. They had been patient, waiting for the right moment to show their real strength. "Pete, send the message to all human colonies and ships," Jack said. "Tell them the pretending is almost over. Tell them to get ready." General Campbell pressed buttons on his control panel, sending secret-coded messages to humans across the galaxy. In a few minutes, every human would know that the long period of acting peaceful was about to end. The war was coming, and humanity was ready. Captain Roy Henderson was drinking coffee in his ship's small kitchen when the alarm started screaming. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 days. The coffee cup fell from his hand as he ran to the bridge of the New Horizon. "Captain, we have 15 Zeltharian warships coming toward New Eden Colony," said Lieutenant Emma Barnes, his tactical officer. She was young but very smart, and she had been trained to fight since she was a teenager. Roy looked at the screen showing the approaching enemy ships. They were big and ugly, covered in weapons and armor. The Zeltharians had painted scary pictures on their ships to frighten their enemies. "Emma, are our real weapons ready?" Roy asked quietly. "Yes, sir. All systems are charged and waiting for your orders," she replied. "The Zeltharians think we are just a slow merchant ship carrying food and supplies." Roy smiled. His ship looked old and harmless from the outside, but inside carried the most advanced weapons that human science could build. The New Horizon could destroy any ship in the galaxy, but the aliens did not know this. On the surface of New Eden, Commander Steve Parker was watching the enemy ships through his telescope. His job was running what the aliens thought was a research station. The building looked like a place where scientists studied plants and rocks, but Commander Parker was not a scientist. He was a military officer, and his research station was really a hidden fortress. "All colonists, this is not a drill," Steve said into his radio. "The Zeltharians are here. Everyone to your positions." Across the planet, 10,000 humans stopped pretending to be farmers. They had been growing real food for years, but they had also been preparing for war. Underground tunnels connected every farm to weapon storage areas. Fields of corn and wheat hid missile launchers and laser cannons. Mary Collins had been working in her vegetable garden when the alarm sounded. She looked like a normal farm woman, but she had been a soldier for 15 years before coming to New Eden. She ran to her barn and pressed her hand on a hidden scanner. The floor opened up, showing stairs going down into the earth. Below ground, Mary put on her combat armor and picked up her weapon. Around her, hundreds of other colonists were doing the same thing. The peaceful farming community was becoming an army. Above New Eden, the Zeltharian fleet was getting ready to attack. War Commander Thex was standing on the bridge of his flagship. looking down at the human colony with his yellow eyes. "This will be easy," Vex told his officers. "Humans are weak. They only know how to talk and trade. We will destroy their pathetic defenses in minutes, and they will run away crying." The other Zeltharian officers laughed and showed their sharp teeth. They had fought many wars against other alien races, and they always won. They thought humans would be the easiest enemy they had ever faced. "Begin the attack, War Commander," Vex ordered. "Show these humans what happens when they do not listen to the Zeltharian Empire." The 15 Zeltharian ships fired their weapons at the human colony. Bright beams of energy and explosive missiles flew toward the farms and buildings. Below, the Zeltharians expected to see everything destroyed in seconds, but something strange happened. The weapons hit an invisible barrier on the planet and exploded harmlessly in the air. The human colony was completely undamaged. "What is that?" Vex roared. "How do these weak humans have such strong shields?" Before anyone could answer, the ground on New Eden began to open up. Huge weapon platforms rose from underground, pointing up at the Zeltharian ships. The platforms were bigger and more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen. Commander Steve Parker was now standing in the control center of his fortress. Banks of computers and weapon controls surrounded him. His research station had transformed into a military command center. "All weapons fire at will," Steve ordered. Beams of pure energy shot up from the planet's surface. The weapons were so powerful that they cut through the Zeltharian ships like knives through paper. 3 enemy ships exploded immediately, filling space with fire and metal pieces. In space above the planet, Captain Roy Henderson decided it was time to stop pretending. "Emma, drop our disguise and show them what we really are." Lieutenant Barnes pressed several buttons. The outer shell of the New Horizon fell away like old clothes. Underneath was a sleek warship covered in weapons and armor. The slow merchant ship had become a deadly hunter. "Target the Zeltharian flagship," Roy ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." The New Horizon moved faster than any Zeltharian ship could follow. Its weapons fired with perfect accuracy, hitting exactly where Roy wanted them to hit. The Zeltharian flagship shields failed in seconds. War Commander Vex could not believe what he was seeing. Impossible. Human ships are supposed to be slow and weak. How are they doing this? But there was no time for answers. More human ships were appearing from behind the planet's moons. Ships that had been hiding, waiting for this moment. Each one looked like a merchant vessel, but each one was really a powerful warship. The battle was over in 20 minutes. 12 Zeltharian ships were destroyed. The 3 remaining ships tried to run away, but the human ships were too fast. Lieutenant Barnes targeted their engines with perfect shots, leaving the enemy ships floating helplessly in space. On New Eden's surface, Mary Collins and the other colonists came out of their underground bunkers. Above them, pieces of Zeltharian ships were falling like burning rain. The first attack on a human colony had failed completely. "Commander," Steve Parker opened the communication channel to all the surviving Zeltharian ships. "This is New Eden Defense Command. You came here to destroy a peaceful farming colony. Instead, you found a fortress defended by soldiers. Your attack has failed." War Commander Vex stared at the screen in shock. The human who was talking to him did not look like a scientist or a farmer. He looked like a warrior, and his eyes were cold and hard. "We surrender," Vex said quietly. It hurt his pride to say those words, but his ships were broken, and his weapons. "We're gone. Tell your leaders what happened here," Steve continued. "Tell them that humans are not as weak as they believed. Tell them that every human colony is ready to defend itself." Captain Roy Henderson was already sending a report to Admiral Morrison. Back on Earth, the message was simple. First contact with Zeltharian military forces complete. Enemy fleet destroyed. Human capabilities no longer secret. Awaiting further orders. The news spread quickly through the galaxy. The Zelfarian Empire had attacked a human colony and lost almost their entire fleet. Other alien races began to ask questions. If humans were so weak, how had they won such a complete victory? On Earth, Admiral Morrison read the reports with satisfaction. The first part of the plan was working perfectly. The aliens were starting to realize that they had been wrong about humanity. But this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been hiding much more than anyone had imagined. President Henry Walsh sat in his office on Earth, reading reports from across the galaxy. The news was not good. The Zelfarians had not learned their lesson from the defeat at New Eden. Instead, they were making the situation much worse. Director Carl Jensen walked into the office carrying a folder marked with red letters. Carl was the head of Earth's intelligence services, and he knew secrets that could change the galaxy forever. "Mr. President, we have a serious problem," Carl said. "The Zelfarians are not backing down. They are doing the opposite." Henry looked up from his papers. "What do you mean?" Carl opened his folder and showed pictures of alien ships gathering in space. After losing at New Eden, War Chief Krath convinced 4 other alien races to join him. They are calling it the Coalition of 5. They say humans are too dangerous to be allowed to exist. The pictures showed thousands of ships from 5 different alien species. There were the sharp-toothed Zelfarians, the insect-like Vorthan, the giant Krellian Empire, the technology-loving Nexari, and the warrior culture of the Draconis Republic. "How many ships total?" Henry asked. "Over 3,000 warships, sir. They are planning to attack Earth itself. They want to destroy our home planet and end the human race." Henry stood up and walked to the window. He could see the blue oceans and green forests of Earth below. This was the world that had given birth to humanity, and now aliens wanted to destroy it. "Carl, how long do we have?" "Our spies say they will attack in 2 weeks. They are gathering their fleets at the edge of our solar system." Henry nodded slowly. He had been hoping this day would never come, but he had been preparing for his whole life. Every human leader since first contact with aliens had known this moment might arrive. "Contact Admiral Beth Cooper," Henry said. "Tell her to begin Operation Revelation." Admiral Cooper was the commander of Earth's Pacific Defense Fleet. Like all human military officers, she had been keeping her real job secret from the aliens. When she received the president's message, she smiled grimly. "All ships, this is Admiral Cooper," she said into her radio. "The time for pretending is over. Begin revealing our true defensive positions." Across the solar system, things that looked like space stations and asteroids began to change. Hidden weapon platforms emerged from their disguises. Fake mining operations revealed themselves to be military bases. Even some of the smaller moons around Jupiter and Saturn opened up to show massive shipyards. The solar system had looked peaceful to alien observers. Now it was showing its true nature as the most heavily defended place in the galaxy. Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez was still at the Galactic Council, but her job was about to change completely. She had spent years acting like a worried diplomat who just wanted peace. Now she had different orders. "Council members," Lisa said, standing up in the great meeting hall. "I have an important message from the government of Earth." The alien representatives looked at her with curiosity. Some of them had heard about the battle at New Eden, but they did not understand what it meant. Lisa activated a holographic projector. Images filled the air above the council table, showing the true strength of humanity. The aliens saw Earth's real military bases, the hidden weapons on every human colony, and the advanced technology that had been kept secret for decades. "For 37 years, humanity has been a member of this council," Lisa said. "We have always sought peace and cooperation. We have shared our knowledge and resources freely. We have never threatened any species or demanded territory that belonged to others." The alien representatives were staring at the images in shock. They had thought humans were weak traders and farmers. Now they saw that every human world was a fortress, every human ship was a weapon, and every human colony was ready for war. However, Lisa continued, the Coalition of Five has decided that humanity is too dangerous to exist. They plan to destroy our home world and kill every human in the galaxy. This is unacceptable. She pressed another button, and the images changed. Now the aliens could see the Coalition fleets gathering at the edge of human space. This is Earth's final warning to the Coalition of Five and anyone who supports them, Lisa said. Her voice was no longer soft and diplomatic. It was hard and cold like steel. Stop your attack or we will stop pretending to be courteous. War Chief Krath of the Zelfarians was watching the broadcast from his flagship. He laughed when he heard Lisa's words. Pretending to be courteous, he said to his officers. What does that mean? Humans are still just weak traders trying to scare US with pretty pictures. But some of the other alien leaders were not laughing. They were looking at the images more carefully, and they were starting to understand what they really meant. Admiral Vex of the Krullian Empire studied the holographic displays. He had been a military officer for 50 years, and he recognized advanced weapons when he saw them. War Chief Krath, he said slowly, these images show technology that is far beyond anything we have seen before. If humans have been hiding this level of military capability, ... They are bluffing. Krath interrupted. They are trying to trick us into running away. Humans cannot fight. They only know how to talk and trade. Back on Earth, President Walsh was meeting with his top military commanders. The time for secrets was ending. Admiral Cooper, how many ships can we field for the defense of Earth? He asked. Admiral Cooper looked at her reports. Sir, we have been building ships in secret for 30 years. We have over 10,000 vessels ready for combat, not counting the orbital defense platforms and ground-based weapons. 10,000? Henry was surprised. I thought we had maybe 3,000. That was the number we told the civilian government, sir. The real number has been classified at the highest levels. Every asteroid mining operation, every deep space research station, every long-range exploration mission has been building ships and weapons. Director Jensen added more information. Mr. President, we have also been studying every alien race. For decades. We know their weaknesses, their tactics, and their technology. We have weapons specifically designed to counter each species in the Coalition. General Pete Campbell entered the room carrying a large case. Sir, we also have weapons that no alien race has ever seen before. Technology that we developed specifically for this kind of war. He opened the case and showed devices that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. These are quantum disruptors. They can shut down any alien ship's power systems instantly. We have enough of them to disable the entire Coalition fleet. Henry looked at his commanders with new respect. How long have you been planning for this war? Since the day we met our first alien, sir, Admiral Cooper replied. We hoped it would never be necessary, but we have been preparing for the possibility that someone would try to destroy humanity. The Coalition fleets were getting closer to Earth. In a few days, they would arrive and begin their attack. But they had no idea what they were really facing. They thought they were coming to destroy a weak and peaceful species. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this war for almost 40 years. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were really capable of when they stopped pretending to be nice. The Coalition fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. 3,000 alien warships from 5 different species spread across space in the largest military formation the galaxy had ever seen. War. Chief Krath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, looking at the small blue planet in the distance. Earth looked so peaceful and defenseless. He could not understand why his allies seemed nervous. Today we end the human threat forever, Krath announced to his fleet commanders. Their pathetic warnings mean nothing. We have brought enough ships to destroy 100 worlds. Admiral Vex of the Krellian Empire was not so confident. His sensors were showing strange readings throughout the solar system. War Chief, I am detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations. The humans may have more defenses than we expected. Impossible, Krath replied. Humans are traders and farmers. They do not know how to fight real wars. But as the Coalition fleet moved deeper into the solar system, they began to see things that made them uncomfortable. What they had thought were asteroids were moving in perfect formations. Space stations that should have been for mining and research were pointing weapons at them. Admiral Tony Rivers was sitting in the command center of the Sol defense grid, watching the alien fleet approach on 100 different screens. He had been waiting for this moment his entire career. Around him, thousands of human officers worked at their stations, preparing for the battle that would decide humanity's future. Admiral, all defense platforms are online and ready, reported his chief of staff. The enemy fleet is entering optimal firing range, Tony nodded. Send the message to Captain Clark. Tell her it's time to show our guests what human hospitality really looks like. Captain Nina Clark was aboard the dreadnought Earth's Fury, hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons. Her ship was the size of a small city and carried enough weapons to destroy an entire fleet. But the aliens did not know it existed. All ships. This is Captain Clark, she said into her radio. Operation Homecoming is now active. Drop all disguises and prepare for battle. Across the solar system, the truth about human defenses began to reveal itself. Asteroids split open to show massive weapon platforms. Space stations transformed into battle fortresses. Even some of the planet's moons opened up to reveal shipyards that had been building warships for decades. War. Chief Krath watched in horror as his sensors counted the human defenses. This cannot be real, he whispered. How did they hide so much military power? The answer came from every direction at once. Beams of energy brighter than small suns lanced out from hidden human positions. The weapons were unlike anything the Coalition had ever faced, cutting through alien shields and armor like they were made of paper. The first wave of Coalition ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. In 30 seconds, Krath lost 200 vessels and had not even seen the enemy ships yet. All ships, attack the planet, Krath screamed into his radio. Ignore the defenses and destroy their home world. But as the Coalition fleet tried to move toward Earth, something incredible happened. Ships began appearing from empty space, as if they had been invisible. Hundreds of human dreadnoughts materialized around the alien fleet, surrounding them completely. Captain Clark's Earth's Fury was the largest, but she was not alone. The human fleet that revealed itself was bigger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each ship moved with perfect precision, their weapons firing with deadly accuracy. Major Rick Davis was aboard one of the smaller human ships, leading a team of marine boarding specialists. His job was to capture alien vessels and their crews for interrogation. Target that Zeltharian cruiser, Rick told his pilot. We need to take some of their officers alive. The human boarding ship moved faster than the aliens thought possible. Before the Zeltharian crew could react, Rick's Marines had cut through their hull and were fighting inside their ship. The aliens had expected humans to be weak and slow. Instead, they found warriors who moved like lightning and fought with weapons. That seemed to come from the future. In 5 minutes, the Zeltharian cruiser was under human control. Admiral Vex tried to coordinate a retreat, but there was nowhere to run. Human ships surrounded the Coalition fleet on all sides, and more were appearing every minute. How many ships do the humans have? He asked his sensor officer. Sir, I count over 8,000 human vessels, and the number is still growing. They have ships coming from every planet, every moon, and every asteroid in this system. War Chief. Kraft could not believe what he was hearing. 8,000 ships? But our intelligence said humans only had a few hundred trading vessels. The truth was becoming clear to the Coalition commanders. Humanity had been lying to the galaxy for decades. Every merchant ship had been a disguised warship. Every mining operation had been a secret military base. Every human colony had been a fortress preparing for war. Captain Clark opened a communication channel to the entire Coalition fleet. "This is Captain Nina Clark of the Earth Defense Force. You came here to destroy our home world and kill our people. You believed we were weak because we chose peace over war. You were wrong." On the main screen, the Coalition commanders could see Captain Clark standing on her bridge. She did not look like the peaceful human traders they had expected. She looked like a warrior, and her ship was clearly built for only one purpose: destroying enemies. "You have 30 seconds to surrender," Clark continued. "Drop your shields, power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that refuses will be destroyed." War Chief Kraft was shaking with rage and fear. His mighty fleet was trapped and outnumbered. Human weapons were tearing his ships apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop them. "We surrender," Admiral Vex said quickly, speaking for the Krullian Empire. He was a smart commander and could see that continuing to fight would only lead to more death. One by one, the other Coalition species followed the Krullians. The insect-like Vorthan, the technology-focused Nexari, and the warrior Draconis Republic. All lowered their weapons and surrendered. Only Kraft refused to give up. Zeltharians do not surrender to weak humans. He screamed. Captain Clark sighed. "Major Davis, please show War Chief Kraft what happens to those who threaten Earth." "Major." Rick's boarding teams hit 12 Zeltharian ships at the same time. The human Marines moved through the alien vessels like ghosts, capturing crew members and taking control of all vital systems. The Zeltharians, who thought they were the greatest warriors in the galaxy, were defeated by humans in hand-to-hand combat. In less than 6 hours, the largest military fleet in galactic history had been completely destroyed or captured. The Coalition of 5 had brought 3,000 ships to destroy humanity. Now those ships belonged to humans, and their crews were prisoners of war. Admiral Rivers sent a message to President Walsh on Earth. "Mr. President, the battle is over. Enemy fleet neutralized with minimal human casualties. The solar system is secure." But even as the immediate threat ended, everyone knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had seen humanity's true power, and nothing would ever be the same again. The time for pretending was over. Now the galaxy would learn what it meant to face humanity when they stopped being polite. Fleet Admiral Sam Tucker stood in the command center on Earth, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The battle in the solar system had ended just 12 hours ago, but humanity was not finished. The Coalition of 5 had tried to destroy Earth, and now they would face the consequences. "Admiral, all strike forces are in position," reported his communications officer. "We have fleets at every Coalition homeworld, ready for your orders." Sam nodded. He had been planning this moment for years, hoping it would never be necessary. But the aliens had made their choice when they decided to attack Earth. "Begin operation." "Galactic justice," Sam ordered. "All Coalition worlds are to surrender immediately or face occupation." Across the galaxy, human fleets appeared at the home worlds of the 5 species that had tried to destroy humanity. The aliens were shocked to discover that humans had ships everywhere, not just around Earth. On the Zeltharian homeworld of Zelth Prime, War Commander Vex was in his office when the sky suddenly filled with human ships. These were not the few 100 vessels that intelligence had reported. Thousands of human warships surrounded his planet, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the Zeltharian fleet. General Tracy Adams was commanding the occupation force at Zelth Prime. She had studied Zeltharian culture for 20 years and knew exactly how to deal with their warrior society. "This is General Adams of the Human Occupation Force," she announced to the planet below. "War Chief Krath is no longer in command. The Zeltharian Empire has been defeated and will now be governed by human military authority." On the planet's surface, the Zeltharian civilians looked up at the sky in fear and amazement. Their mighty empire, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been crushed by a species they thought was weak. At the same time, Ambassador Greg Miller was walking into the Galactic Council, building on the neutral world of Centaurus. Greg was not like the previous human ambassador. He did not smile politely or speak softly. He walked like a soldier, and his eyes were hard as steel. The alien representatives were already gathered in the great meeting hall, whispering nervously among themselves. They had all heard about the battle at Earth and the sudden appearance of human fleets across the galaxy. "Council members," Greg said as he took his seat, "the human government has sent me to discuss the new situation in our galaxy." The Altarian representative, a tall blue-skinned alien named Zeph, spoke first. "Ambassador Miller, we demand an explanation. How did humanity hide such a massive military force? This is a violation of all galactic treaties." Greg looked at Zeph with cold eyes. "Treaties? You want to talk about treaties? Let me tell you about violations." He activated a holographic display that filled the air above the council table. The images showed secret communications between the coalition species and several neutral governments. "For the past 6 months, many of you have been sharing intelligence with the coalition," Greg continued. "You gave them information about human colony locations and shipping routes. You helped them plan their attack on Earth." The alien representatives began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. They had thought their secret communications were safe from human detection. "The Altarian Republic," Greg said, pointing at Zeph, "provided star charts of human space. The Centaurian Federation gave the Coalition access to their communication networks. The Vegan Collective sold them weapons and supplies." Zeph's blue skin turned pale. We were just conducting normal trade relationships. You were helping enemies plan the genocide of the human race," Greg interrupted. "That is not trade. That is an act of war." Fleet Admiral Tucker's voice came through the communication system. "Council members, this is Fleet Admiral Tucker speaking from Earth. Human forces have now secured all Coalition home worlds. We have also identified every government that provided assistance to our enemies." The holographic display changed to show human ships at a dozen different worlds. Not just the Coalition planets, but also the worlds of the species that had been secretly helping them. "The Altarian Republic, the Centaurian Federation, and the Vegan Collective are hereby placed under human oversight," Tucker announced. "Your governments will be restructured to ensure this kind of treachery never happens again." On Centauri Prime, the Centaurian president was watching the broadcast in his office when human ships appeared in orbit around his world. He had thought his secret help to the Coalition would never be discovered. Now he realized that humans had been watching and listening to everything. Back on Earth, Director Carl Jensen was meeting with President Henry Walsh in the secure briefing room. Carl had folders full of information about every alien government in the galaxy. "Mr. President, our intelligence networks have been monitoring galactic communications for 37 years, Carl reported. "We know about every secret alliance, every hidden weapon, every plan that has been made against humanity." Henry looked through the files with amazement. "Carl, this information could have prevented the war entirely. Why didn't we use it before?" "Because, sir, we needed the galaxy to show its true nature. Now everyone knows which species can be trusted and which ones are threats to human survival." In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Miller was explaining the new reality to the alien representatives. For nearly 4 decades, humanity has been watching and learning, he said. We studied your languages, your cultures, your military capabilities, and your secret plans. We built weapons designed specifically to counter each of your species. We prepared for every possible threat. The Andromedan representative, a crystalline being named Quex, asked the question that everyone was thinking. Why did you pretend to be weak? Why did you not show your true strength from the beginning? Greg smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. Because we wanted to see who our real friends were. We wanted to know which species would stand with us in times of trouble and which ones would try to destroy us. He gestured to the images still floating above the table. Now we know. Some of you, like the Andromedans and the Sirius Republic, stayed neutral and honored your treaties with humanity. You will continue to be our friends and trading partners. But others, he continued, looking directly at the representatives from the traitorous governments, chose to help our enemies. You will now live under human oversight until you prove that you can be trusted again. Fleet Admiral Tucker's voice filled the chamber once more. The galaxy has a new order now. Humanity is no longer pretending to be a peaceful trading species. We are what we have always been, the most dangerous predators this galaxy has ever seen. On human colonies across the galaxy, children were learning about the time when humanity had to stop pretending. Teachers told them stories about the brave humans who had hidden their true strength for decades, waiting for the moment when they would need to protect their species. 10-year-old. Billy Chun raised his hand in his history class on New Eden. Teacher, why did we pretend to be weak for so long? His teacher, who had been one of the soldiers during the battle for New Eden, smiled at the question. Because, Billy, sometimes the best way to win a war is to let your enemies think they are stronger than you. When they finally attack, they are not prepared for what you really are. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was no longer the quiet, polite species that attended council meetings and traded goods peacefully. They were the dominant military power in known space, and everyone understood that challenging them would be a fatal mistake. War Chief Krath, now a prisoner on a human ship, stared out at the stars through his cell window. He finally understood what the human ambassador had meant by her final warning. Humanity had not been threatening to become dangerous. They had been threatening to stop hiding how dangerous they already were. The age of human politeness was over. The age of human dominance had begun.